Hello everyone, welcome to Just Invest Today. And in today's video, we're talking about the 3 mistakes that I made when I invested in Alibaba. As I continue to learn about new things about investing, about generally everything in the market, I'm starting to develop my new strategy of investing, and I'm going to tell you the 3 mistakes that I made when I invested in Alibaba. The first mistake that I made was actually trying to make this macro bet. And as I made this macro bet, I was too concentrated. I still believe in my macro bet, but at the same time, I made the macro bet by putting too much money into that bet. So when you think about it, the Crane shares are down like 60-70%, which is amazing because I believe that China is going to do great things in the 5 to 10 years going forward, but we still don't know. It's still a risk relying on Xi Jinping to make the right moves on improving the Chinese economy, not doing the zero COVID policy strategy, not cracking down on all these tech companies this heavy. So while making that bet, it was correct, but putting too much money in the bet is bad because remember, there's always a risk to your investment. So if you want to rely on Xi Jinping to make these huge returns, I don't think that was the best strategy for me. Even though I still believe in the bet, you just never know how it's going to turn out because you're relying on the government to do the right things. And we know we cannot do that in this type of market, in this type of area. Because I made a macro bet by buying Tencent, JD.com, and Alibaba and having 40% of my portfolio kind of in those companies, 40 to 50, anywhere around that. So even though I'm still bullish on the bet, putting too much in the bet was the wrong thing. So that was the first big mistake that I made when I invested in Alibaba. Second big mistake that I made when I invested in Alibaba was not being too conservative. I was expecting like a 15 to 20% growth rate back in 2020, 2021, even though the crackdown happened, because I'm like, damn, Alibaba's just gonna go back to business after this crackdown. I don't know why I had this huge expectation for that to happen. I thought it was a very, very short-term issue. But when you're looking at the big macro sphere of China, no, the government actually wants them to invest more in different kind of areas, which might not be conducive to Alibaba's business, plus making sure they're doing things going with the government. Even though they can still be profitable going with the government's rule, that still has a kind of risk to it because you just don't know how that's going to play out. So me actually being very optimistic on the growth of like 15%, 14, 20% around there was just really bad during those times. So that's a huge mistake that I made when I actually valued Alibaba at these huge growth rates. The third big mistake that I made was trying to catch a falling knife too soon, man. And that was a huge mistake that I made. I regret it. I regret it so much because, man, when Alibaba was falling from like 240, 250, I was so excited. I was just buying every 10% down or like 12% down. I was just buying right away, even though I knew they're in the middle of the crackdown and I knew it was going to get worse. It didn't matter. I was still buying, and that's a huge mistake right away. That's a huge mistake. You can't do that, especially when you know for a fact that these regulations are going to hit fast and they're going to take time to kind of play out. So me buying into the company so soon was just a bad mistake and a wrong decision. So when I'm looking out into the future of the next company to buy, and even kind of did this with Facebook, you just have to wait it out a little bit. Wait 2 to 3 weeks after you make your first purchase of where you think the intrinsic value is, and then wait like a week or two, especially when it's in some turmoil. Just wait it out a little bit, because usually if it's in a bad place right now, it's gonna continue to go down, especially when the event is just not over. When the event is not over, you can kind of wait it out a little bit. So that was a huge mistake, was just buying too soon. I was making one purchase, another one. I made like 8 purchases like right away in the span of like a month or even less than a month. So that was a huge mistake. On top of that, this is another huge mistake that I made. This is an extra one, not being more diversified. And yes, I said it. I'm going back on this. This kind of goes back to number 1, concentration. I gotta start being more diversified when I really think about it, because I feel like sometimes I'm coming from a place of too much hubris. You have to realize that in investing, you're gonna make mistakes. You're not gonna hit 10 out of 10. So if you're making 10 concentrated bets, are you sure that those 10 are gonna be the ones that are gonna succeed in your portfolio? Like, are you certain? And of the ones that succeed, are you certain they're gonna go up 3x, 4x, 5x? What if they only go up 2x? Like, who knows? So kind of be a little bit more diversified and not have so much hubris, because there's so much things going on in this economy and companies are getting disrupted a lot quicker. For you to be so concentrated and being so sure that this stock is gonna win, or these 4 to 5 stocks are gonna win, that's just not how you want to play it. Even Peter Lynch, he's wrong 30% of the time. Templeton, wrong 40% of the time. And they still made huge gains. But knowing that you're going to be wrong, even Moshe Bryce says you're going to be wrong. You have to make sure that you're betting in good companies, but you just don't know for sure that you're going to be right on those bets. So be more diversified and not have this huge concentration into the Alibaba, JD, and Tencent. Even though I love those 3 companies, still, you just don't want to have all those eggs in that basket, because you just don't know 100%. Even though it's a good probability, you just don't know, and you just don't want to risk it. It's all about the long game in investing. So with those 3 things and the bonus, that's the mistakes I made when I invested in Alibaba. Guys, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm always providing you guys with so much new content, so like it and subscribe.